When first announced, it was touted as a cost and time-saving mega project that would connect Asia and Europe via the Middle East. The $20 billion development road project is a mix of ports, roads and rails that will run from the Gulf through Iraq and Turkiye before making its way to southeastern Europe. That plan got a big boost over the weekend after Istanbul hosted key players in the project: Iraq, the UAE and Qatar. With its first phase set to be completed next year, can more interconnectivity help a region that has often been plagued by conflict and geopolitical rivalries? Nili Kozad has more.
Despite growing fears of a wider regional war, several countries across the Middle East are betting a mega project will bring more connectivity amid the turmoil. The Development Road Project, an ambitious plan to connect Asia with Europe via Iraq and Turkiye, is seeing new momentum. Entering a critical phase, transport ministers of Türkiye, Iraq, Qatar and the United Arab Emirates gathered in Istanbul last week to move the needle on the project, evaluating its progress as building expects to start in mid-2025.
With the Development Road Project, we will provide uninterrupted transportation to every country in Europe by road and rail from the four-port built in Iraq to London. We will significantly reduce the travel time between Asia and Europe via Türkiye.
The nearly $20 billion project is viewed as a potential alternative to the heavily congested Suez Canal. It will feature a road and railway network extending from Turkey's southeastern border through major Iraqi cities like Mosul and Baghdad, ultimately reaching the Gulf. The project seeks to strengthen Iraq's geopolitical position in the region and help the country move away from its dependence on oil. And for Qatar and the UAE, who are hopeful investors, it's a strategic geopolitical effort to bolster ties with their immediate neighbors and beyond. Equally important, the project aims to foster deeper cooperation between Ankara and Baghdad in the fight against terrorism.
We are committed to our constitution, Iraqi constitution, which is not allowing any group, any organization from Iraqi soil to attack any neighboring countries.
Ever since Israel's war on Gaza, maritime shipping routes have experienced major disruption, with Houthi forces attacking vessels that have any association with Israel. The conflict has also shifted dynamics in the region, as many countries rethink their relations with Israel. Before the war in Gaza, the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor was touted as a way to connect India and Europe, with the main corridor running through Saudi Arabia and Israel. But nearly a year after Israel's onslaught, which has left over 40,000 Palestinians dead, those plans are in serious jeopardy. For the US and the EU, IMEC represented an opportunity to counter and contain Beijing's BRI project and its expanding presence in the Middle East. For now, Iraq's Development Road Project seems to be the most viable option to better connect Europe with Asia. And the stakes couldn't be higher for a region desperate for a sense of normalcy that increased trade and connectivity promises to bring. Nili Kozad, Straight Talk.
For more on this ambitious mega project, joining me now from Rome is Carnelos, the former Italian ambassador to Iraq, and from Doha, Ali Bakir, a non-resident fellow at Atlantic Council. Gentlemen, great to have you here with us on Straight Talk. Ali, let me begin with you. How significant will the Development Road Project be once completed in connecting Europe and Asia via Iraq and Turkey? And what obstacles do you think stand in its way?
Thank you very much for hosting me on this issue. Well, as you said, this is very ambitious and leading connectivity project that aims to transform Iraq into a transit hub that connects Asia and the Gulf region on the one hand, with Turkey and Europe on the other hand. And in this sense, it has a spillover effect that goes beyond the region, not only in terms of economy, finance, investment, and infrastructure, but also in terms of politics, diplomacy, security, and sustainability. Therefore, it's a very big project. It has a significant impact on the region and beyond. And having said this, I think that there are several challenges that the project has to face before it realizes its benefits, including the challenge of terrorism, for example, the challenge of the political and security instability of Iraq, Iran's influence in Iraq, the big bill, of course, of the project, and maybe inconsistency of the GCC countries in this sense. Having said this, I think it's a unique project in terms of its valuable impact on the region and beyond. And I think that all involved parties are going forward to display their concrete will in achieving this project.
Ambassador Carnelos, let me come to you now. Now, Ali mentioned the obstacle of terrorism here. I wonder, how do you think Turkey and Iraq can manage the political risks here, such as the PKK terrorist group that is active in the same areas?
Well, even before the terrorism, this corridor that is quite significant is going to launch, let's say, a geopolitical competition of corridors trying to reach, let's say, Western Asia and Europe. So we have many competing projects at the moment. We have this, the Development Road Project. We have also the IMEC, and we have also the traditional route going through Suez and Red Sea. And plus, let's not forget it, the North-South International Corridor from Iran through Caucasus until Russia and Baltic Sea. Having said that, I don't know how this, let's say, competition of corridor will play in the geopolitics in the region, but definitely the issue of terrorism, especially across the border between Iraq and Turkey, is going to be a significant headache for both countries committed to this project. And it would be naive in a way to imagine that this project could move on without addressing seriously, once and for all, the Kurdish factor, both in Iraq and Turkey.
Right. I mean, when we look at Turkish policy now, of course, Turkey has said on multiple occasions that it will not allow the creation of a terror corridor, and the PKK over the past 3 decades has engaged in terrorist activities, not just here in Turkey, but across the region, killing tens of thousands of people. So, Ali, it only makes sense for Turkey to eradicate this threat from its border, and especially with this new project in the pipeline now.
I agree with this thought. I mean, you cannot just continue the project without a comprehensive plan to eradicate the PKK terrorism, and it's an occasion also not to mix between what's happening in Palestine and what has been happening on the borders between Iraq and Turkey. And the last visit of President Erdogan to Iraq highlighted this issue. And I think now, for the first time, probably there is an agreement between the Iraqi government and the Turkish government on the necessity to eradicate terrorism represented by the PKK on the borders in order to pave the way for an effective achievement of this project that contributes to, of course, security, stability, and prosperity of Iraq and the region, as we explained. And I think that, of course, this is not an easy challenge to achieve, but an easy task to achieve. But as long as the Iraqi and the Turkish governments are agreeing on this, I think that we will see some progress on that road in the period to come.
Ambassador Carnelos, another major point that I would like to talk about in relation to this project is, of course, the financing of this project. This ambitious project will cost a reported $20 billion. Where will most of this financing come from, and can the region really foot the bill given the shaky global economy?
First of all, I'm afraid to say that this project might cost more than the estimates of $20 billion. Anyway, both Qatar and Turkey could cover the cost, and Iraq as well, because this is a significant investment. And as far as we can see, there's also the Emirates' involvement in the project. So the point is not so much if the resources will be available, but if the local situation and the situation mainly in Iraq will allow this project to move smoothly, because we know that especially while on the, let's say, Turkey tracks of the project, there's a lot of infrastructure that have been already built by Erdogan government quite effectively. On the Iraqi side, the level of infrastructure, both railways and highways, it's quite behind for this kind of project in order to be profitable. Let's not forget one important point. This project is going to be significant in the measure that it will be able to offer a quicker, cheaper, and safer alternative to the other trade routes that I mentioned previously. And there's a basic advantage in this moment, because the India-Middle East-Europe corridor has a lot of logistic hurdles, because it implies the fact that you have to load the ships in India, download the ships in the Arabian Peninsula, transfer the packages on railways that have not been completed yet. These railways have to reach the Eastern Mediterranean coast. They have been downloaded from the train and loaded on the ships, and again, they have to arrive in Europe. This is going to determine a lot of customs problem and logistical hurdles and problem. So on the paper, there's a big advantage for this corridor in the measure that the infrastructures in Iraq will be built quickly, and all the system will be carried out efficiently. And it's, let's say, it's a big challenge, but it's a quite interesting one for both countries, especially for Iraq, because in a way will allow the country to move from an oil-dependent economy to a more mature economy based on services, and also on a sort of transformation industry in the manufacturing.
Ali, now, according to reports, Qatar and the UAE will be major investors in this project. How do you think, how will these two Gulf countries benefit from investing in this mega project?
Well, let us say first that the initial estimation of this project went from 17 billion to 20 billion. And I think that in the near future, we will see an estimation of around 25 billion, if not more. This is, of course, not an easy way to finance the project, but given the benefits and the returns of this project on the mid and long term, I think it's a relatively cheap project. We should not also forget that all those involved in this project will contribute to it financially, and we have three major global energy suppliers are involved: Iraq, UAE, Qatar, and we have also the biggest non-oil economy in the Middle East. So from the financial perspective, it's not mission impossible. And when it comes to the benefits for Qatar and UAE in particular, well, you know, for decades, these countries and the GCC members in particular, they were looking for ways to diversify their economies away from the hydrocarbons and energy dependent, such as oil and gas. And of course, from this perspective, these projects contribute effectively to diversify their economies, boost their trade, investment, and infrastructure capacity, and also increase their geopolitical importance. So we have seen the kind of problems these countries have during the COVID-19 challenges in the last few years, and also during the 2017 blockade. And I think that this project will promote the connectivity and will increase the connectivity between the Gulf region and Europe, Central Asia, and Europe in particular, which is very vital for these countries, and of course for Turkey as well.
Ambassador Carnelos, Ali, Bakir, thanks very much for joining me today here on The Straight Talk. And that's all for this edition of The Straight Talk with me, Jafar Hasnan. If you've got any comments, please share them with us on X at The Straight Talk TRT. Also, do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, take care and goodbye.